might stand. I think I need to stand today. I don't think that there anyway. All right, you're free. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Meg Philp. Yes, this is a story that sort of got a hold of me on, is this Wednesday? So I think it was Monday it got a hold of me. And, well, here you go. See what you think of it. You might be able to tell it your way. I read it, and I've been working on it. It goes something like this. A long, long time ago, they say, right at the beginning of the world, when God had finished doing everything and was walking around thinking he'd done a really good job. The place was looking really well. Everything seemed to be working. But he noticed the birds, you know, well, there was wasn't some quite right. They were all sort of brown or stone coloured or white or greyish, but they had different sizes, but they all had the same beaks. And he thought to himself, oh, I'm going to have to do something to make a world of difference here. They're all too much the same. So he got chatting with his mate Gabriel, and he said, look, I want you to organise this. I want all the birds in the world gathered here. You know, I mean, I've done one of every one of them, so get them here. There's got to be a bit of a renovation, a bit of recycling. So Gabriel goes off and he gets a list, and he decides where the meeting's going to be. And the summons is sent out to all of the birds to meet on a particular green hill at a particular time. And when that time came, Gabriel's there on the hill with the list, and the birds start flying in from every corner. Macaws, orioles, hoopoes, you name it. Wonderful. Well, it was just one of each. So, and Gabriel's busy ticking off the list, tick, 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 and they come in squabbling and settling and flapping, and Gabriel gets a bit flustered. He's not God. And so he's trying to keep track of things, and then I think it was Magpie thought it would have a bit of a joke and just swooped in and took the list just when he thought he'd got it all ticked off. Well, Gabriel didn't know what to do. He was beside himself, so he said, oh, well, I can't let on what happened. I'll just have to say that all the birds are here. So when he said that, sure enough, Lord Pierce comes up the hill carrying this great big bag, big smile on his face, and under his arm he's got his favourite box of paints and his brushes. And when the birds see God coming, they all rise up and flap and whistle and make all this noise, and God just waves his hand and there's utter silence. You know, it's good when you can do that here. And God said, now, listen very carefully. I've been thinking, you know, we've got this wonderful world here, and we've got people. I'll sort them out later. It might take a while. But you birds, I think you deserve a little better. So I've decided that you can choose what colours you would like to be. And you don't all have to have the same beaks. You can have whatever kind of beak you like. And you just have to decide. Well, that commotion. Was it a cacophony? Who knows what it was? It was such a racket. The birds were beside themselves, fluttering and thinking, oh, colours, colours. You know, some of the birds couldn't contain themselves. Some of the ones from Australia in particular were absolutely raucous. But they did get into a bit of a line. And when God gave the nod, the first one came in. Oh, it was just green, green, I want green. No, and yellow, and a red, and a blue around the neck, and a red beak. Oh, you'd have to be a Laura Keats. Sure enough, very quickly, painted it over, off it flew. And then another bird came along, big, it was really big, kind of grumpy, had this crest that stood up on the top of his head. And God said, so what would you like? I can see you're a member of the parrot family. Black. I said, black. I just want black. I want a beak like a crab's leg. I want it strong, curved, not like that little lorikeet one. I've got work to do. Black. All right, Oh, God was real quick with the black. And the beak, wow, was it strong. Could snap any sort of knock you out. And just as it was going to go off it, sort of changed his mind. Said, now that I've got the beak I want, do you think I could have a bit of red on my cheek? I said, oh, sure, I can manage that. Quick, red cheeks, and off flew the palm cockatoo. You can imagine, the bee eaters went berserk with the colours. One of them said, I would like my long, sharp, black beak to have a stripe that goes all the way across my eyes, so I look like a spy. And another bird said, no, I would like my eyes sort of Egyptian looking with blue, and I'll have an olive back, thank you very much, and I'd like a reasonable size. Well, then they started arguing, and God was rummaging in the bag, and he suddenly pulled out this enormous beak and said, I've made a mistake here. He said, I don't imagine there's a bird that can handle this. And from the back, there was a call, make that pink, and I can, said the pelican. So God made it pink and made the pelican white and black. And the pelican just cruised off, just was so thrilled with this huge beak. But the next bird that came up, I don't want to get into gender things, but you realise it's all the males that are up the front getting all the colours. When the parrot came up and said, I want all red, except for my green wings, his wife said, that's too much. You're embarrassing me. And she got a little blush of pink and turquoise down the front. But, it was the peacock that was almost the undoing of God. All that detail, and he was so finicky. It had to be perfect, symmetrical, everything had to match. There had to be this many dots all the way up the tip. God was very patient, but every now and again he'd look at Gabriel and throw him a look and shake his head and go back to painting those eyes on the back. Well, the day wore on and the paints were getting down. And I meant to say to you that these paints, they were God's paints, so they weren't just the usual. They were self-perpetuating and everlasting. So when the birds flew off with their new colours, they kept them. But towards the end of the day, there was just enough for those that were left. And God was getting a bit tired. The dusk was coming in, and he said to the wee birds that were left, look, you just come in yourself and help yourself to whatever's left. So of course the kingfisher dived right into turquoise. And that was it. The galahs were a bit late. The galah came forward and sort of messed around in what was left in the white and a wee bit of red and a wee bit of black, and ended up the colour we have galahs. Just like that. Last one was the galah. Well, Gabriel came across to God and said, made a real difference in the world today, God. That's a real improvement. We've done a really good job. Yes, said God, let's go down to the creek. And he went down to wash his hands because he was pretty messy, as you can imagine, and he didn't want to keep the paint too long. And as they were down there, just standing back, looking over the land, they heard a kind of squeak and a creak and a rustle and a bustle, and through the bushes came this tiny nondescript bird, brownish and very nervous, flew right up to God and said, am I too late? Am I too late? Nobody told me, and I didn't know, and I'm really sorry, am I too late? Well, God looked at this bird and said, you're the shy one that doesn't come out during the day. You only come out at night time, and come here. And then God looked at his paint tray. There was not a bit left. There was a sob from the wee bird. And God said, wait. He saw his paintbrush. And there was one there that had a tiny bit of gold on the end. Up here, little bird, just open your beak. And he painted the gold on the tongue. The little bird flew up in the air. It was burning and sharp, and it flew and circled, and then it opened its beak and began to sing. Go on, said God, sing up a storm, nightingale. And that was how the nightingale got its song. And that is why, when you hear the nightingale, even half a mile away, It's like an angel is singing, way out there in the deep and the dark of the forest.